Welcome to NEXTGames' Elder Scrolls Online Dungeon Series. This video covering the Crypt of Hearts I on the normal difficulty, solo with Nightblade. This run is simply going to include a Crypt of Hearts I run with cutscenes and commentary during the bosses. Now, Crypt of Hearts is one of the easier dungeons to take on the normal difficulty, with only 2 of the bosses really posing most challenge for most players. I simply have a Ring of the Pale Order equipped to cure me throughout this dungeon. That's definitely not necessary though. As long as you have some healing abilities slotted, you should be able to easily cure yourself through the bosses in this dungeon. Now, this battle example you're about to witness is the first time I've defeated this dungeon with my Nightblade. Therefore, it will be including all cutscenes and the mob battles in between the boss runs. If you're looking for a quicker guide to this dungeon that just includes the bosses, make sure you check out my Veteran Guide taken on with my Dragon Knight to get a quicker rundown of the boss fights in this dungeon. The gear and equipment used for this run is shown at the very end of the run after the final boss. That should be it for the intro. We'll talk at the beginning of the first boss, who will be the Mage Master.
Please, no more. I can't take any more. I'm long dead, stranger. But I suffer torment unending thanks to my husband, Narayaneth. The Daedra gripped their wretched claws on his soul, turned him wicked, turned him against me. All that you see was the result. My husband, the twisted creature he became, cursed me, broke my soul into 3 pieces and sealed them in phylacteries. If the phylacteries were broken, I would rest, but they are guarded by vile beasts. I have long dreamed of kind words and a way out, but I think this task is beyond you, my friend. The first phylactery is up ahead, watched by impossible creatures. You cannot defeat them. No one can. In time long past, this was the Agia realm, where I taught the trade of adventuring. My husband, Narayaneth, has broken it, made it a Crypt of Hearts, where my spirit and the spirit of my students will suffer for as long as his magic lasts.
Here we are at the first boss of the dungeon, the Mage Master. Now this is a relatively simple boss. When you first engage him, he's going to summon several minions from around the room. You want to deal with those first, and then take him out as quickly as possible. The only main ability you need to watch out for is he has a heavy melee attack that you'll see him charge that you want to block as often as possible.
I should have joined the buoyant armigers. Match may get noticed, but style gets remembered.
This brings us to the second boss of the dungeon, and I would say the second most difficult boss in this dungeon, Archmaster SINIEL. Now the most challenging part of SINIEL is simply the very large hit point pool that they have. In addition to that, they will actually summon multiple adds during this run that you'll want to dispatch with very quickly. Fortunately, they only have a small amount of hit points, so you can take them out quickly. Additionally, SINIEL has a very annoying AoE fear ability that can stun you in a place for a period of time. Lastly, there are red circles that will be placed on the ground that you want to make sure that you stay out of. Other than that, you just got to get your damage in as efficiently as you can, and just keep in mind that this is going to be the second longest fight of this dungeon due to the large hit point pool.
him! I'm free! I thank you. I wasn't expecting you would be so capable. You've ended Ankanath's torture and freed a fragment of my soul. Are you willing to do more? My soul remains bound, and the Daedra are torturing others. 2 fragments of my soul remain imprisoned. Free them, and I would finally be able to move on. Ankanath's cries have echoed through this chamber for years. The silence now is almost deafening. Another fragment of my soul lies to the south. It's heavily guarded, so be wary. I would not fault you for turning back. It only gets tougher from here. He was a fellow instructor here at the Agia Rel, teaching the discipline of destruction magic. Losing him was a tragedy to me and to the magical community. I hope he rests in peace. He thought the 2 of us were having an affair. He was wrong, of course, but his accusation cut deep just the same. Almost as deep as the torture he inflicted on our souls for years. To this day, I'm not sure why he believes it, except to say that the Daedra must have whispered it in his ear. There's no defending what he's done, to me or the others in the school. But I failed to save him from himself. Given the chance, I would try again. He made a pact. A Daedric pact. Narayaneth was proficient with magic, but he could never do all this on his own. I could have stopped him before he completed it. I should have. I have found that where there is misery and torment, the Daedra are not far behind. Yes, my husband appealed to the Daedra for power. He got it. Everything you've seen, he used Daedric spells to create.
Roll if you can!
But I think
I wanted to speak to you as well. What's this I hear about you teaching advanced destruction? I want the students able to defend themselves in the backwoods of Tamriel. I don't want them learning how to fight a war or burning the city.
This brings us to the third boss of the dungeon, Death's Leviathan. Now, this boss fight is divided into two phases. He will use the same abilities in both phases though, with them just being more potent in the second. The first ability we're going to talk about is his charging ability that he's going to use right here. When you see that red line appear in front of him, you want to make sure you dodge out of range of it. Now the second ability you'll see used is the one he's using right here, where he will actually grow a very large circle around him and start doing large damage to the people within that circle. Now on this difficulty, you don't need to worry about that second ability and can just continue damaging him while he grows that red circle. However, with the charging attack, you definitely want to always dodge out of the way. Now you will know you've entered phase 2 when he kneels down near one of the pillars and gains a flame buff. When he does that, now both of his abilities will also leave fire on the ground and do increased damage, so make sure you're ready for it. And I would save most of your strongest damage dealing attacks for this phase 2 part of the run so that you can take him out as quickly as possible.
You've done enough. You have my thanks, friend. Rulanir didn't deserve that. No one does. Your determination gives me hope. I resigned myself to the pain a long time ago. You'll find the last fragment through the gate in the southeast. A powerful lich guards the last fragment, plucked out of history and summoned by my husband. He's ravaging the soul of one of my students. I would die again to help that student, but I can't. Please, save him if you can. He was the school's blade master, a fellow instructor. Rulanir was an old friend, and my husband knew that whatever pain he inflicted on Rulanir, I would regret.
Olinway, I don't think your husband enjoys my company.
They say that when someone professes another's dislike for them... Stop! Really? You've done enough! Leave them alone!
This brings us to the fourth boss, who is Ulkar Bonehand. Now this is normally a fairly quick fight. His main mechanic is he's going to place these red circles on the ground that you're going to want to stay out of the range of. Other than that, it's a fairly straightforward fight where you just want to get in as much damage as you can, as quickly as you can.
grateful. Thank you for freeing me. For freeing Feindor. Our tormentors washed him in fire during the day, and he slept only to face the same all over again. I hope that he can rest easy now. I did not dare to hope you would make it this far, but your abilities have been astonishing. The pieces of my soul are free, though my husband left 2 Daedric minions, Elambris Aethor and Elambris Zavan, to prevent the shards from reuniting. The Daedra maintain spells that will keep the shards from ever merging, my soul from reforming. My husband meant for my pain to be the likes of torture and oblivion. How better to ensure that than to bring denizens of oblivion to me? Yes, if you are willing to face them. Defeating those Daedra will dispel their magic and allow my soul to reform. They ruminate on new tortures in a chamber to the south of here. I never hoped that I would ever be free, but I thank you for unbinding this fragment of my soul. You've helped Feindor too, and that brings me a sense of peace that I'm unable to express. A student of mine, I was fond of him. He was the opposite. He was the unruly son of a noble Altmer family, and he resented me and everyone here. But he had an instinctual magical spark that the Mages Guild lacked the patience to stoke. He became the greatest mage the Aegirel ever produced. Better than my husband, said the Altmeri diplomats who visited during Feindor's graduation. The day Feindor was to leave, my husband solidified his Daedric pact. And you know Feindor's fate.
They're coming for us.
This brings us to the 5th boss of the dungeon, DOGAS the Berserker. Now DOGAS will start with all of those ads around him, so the first thing you have to do is immediately dispatch with them. Then all you're left with is him. Now his main ability is going to be to jump into the air, and then when he lands he's going to stun everyone in range for 4 to 5 seconds and start leeching health. Now this is one of those bosses where the more players you have, the more difficult it is, because therefore he's going to leech hit points for more players. On this difficulty, with only a single player, it's not overly challenging, but you do want to keep just getting in as much damage as you can as quickly as you can because of that stunning and leeching ability.
I'm still here. Thanks for asking.
Now this brings us to the final bosses of the dungeon, Elambris Zavan and Elambris Aethor. Now you'll need to take out both of these challenging foes in order to complete your path through this dungeon. Now, Zevin is going to sit in the middle of the arena and cast fire spells that will both have a ever-growing red ring from around him that grows out from the middle, and sending out lines of fire throughout the arena. Meanwhile, Aethor is going to follow you anywhere you go around this arena and cast lightning spells. Aethor also possesses a very potent heavy attack that at this difficulty doesn't do much damage, but will knock you down for a period of time. The way I suggest taking this one on is going to the outside of the arena and taking on Aethor first until you completely finish taking him out. Then go to the middle of the arena and take on Zevin. The main reason I choose this method is because that way you can focus only on taking damage from Aethor, as hopefully your companion can then hold hate on Zevin, and then additionally, once one or the other is defeated, the other one becomes strong, making it so that all their abilities deal more damage. I find it much easier to deal with Zevin in this berserk state than I do Aethor. This will be a fairly lengthy fight, so make sure you have a way to keep yourself healed throughout it, and otherwise it should be fairly straightforward from here. Enjoy the rest of the run, everyone.
Do you feel that? The others are returning!
I don't know where you found your new friends, Allenway, but they don't seem to fear death. It's admirable.
They can speak to that better than I, but they've bested my husband's minions. We owe them everything.
Indeed. By the Empyrean light! I didn't know Narayaneth had tortured so many of us. That whoreson dog.
Easy, Feindor.
You've
He'll
done the
pay when the time
impossible.
comes. But we don't
I've
want
seen those Daedric fiends flay the souls of my friends with but a word. Your power must be immense, dwarfed only by your generosity. The shards have merged and my soul is whole once more. Give you my gratitude. The Daedra drove Narayaneth to do this. I know it. I would leave this plane, but I cannot, knowing Narayaneth is still out there. He may return, and on that day, I will do everything I can to free him from Daedric influence. You have freed not only my soul, but the souls of all the students caught in my husband's attack. Your actions right a wrong that was long overdue. My husband and I met as adventurers. We founded this school to teach practical sorcery and use of arms as survival skills. The world can be a dangerous place, and we wanted to give our students the means to tame it, like we did, had I known. Had I known what my husband would ultimately become, and what he would do to this school and his students, I would never have built it. In a way, I gave the Daedra all those lives, years of torment out of something that should have been wonderful. There were a great many, but they've all been freed now. The ones you saw, Feindor, Rulinir, Ankanath, myself, we were the ones he most despised. The others were trapped within the walls to bear witness.
That's going to be it for how to take on Crypt of Hearts I on the normal difficulty solo with Nightblade. I hope you found that helpful. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy out there.